Hey guys, welcome back to another Chatters episode. Hello. Welcome back. Sorry we didn't get back to you. We'll get this episode out sooner. We're still getting into the rhythm of it. And that's okay.
We're
That's
finding
okay.
our groove. And
it's happening.
But the good thing is a lot of planning and structure has been going into the background. So it's for good reason and we will get there. But we hit the ground running and we're going to keep doing that.
Absolutely. And we wanted to take this episode to sort of clue you into a little bit of what we're working on. It's a little bit more of behind the scenes, because coming into this season, we were so aware that we wanted to bring quality to our episodes. We wanted to actually grow something on beyond just the podcast. And that's where we want to be sharing with you exclusively on what that is and inviting you into that space as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today or tonight, depending on when you're listening. But that's our episode.
Yeah, we've been talking about how there's a lot of podcasts out there and we can just be another voice in the echo chamber, which I think there's still value in just listening to a podcast and setting it aside. But our challenge this season is to be something that's not just set aside. Once you finish listening, it's not something that's like, oh, that was cool. It's like, this actually impacts your everyday lives. It's impacting our everyday lives. It's a challenge. It brings challenges that you can bring and apply to your relationship in the day that you hear. So we're trying to kind of restructure and put some things in place to make it break that.
Because you had a conversation with someone recently or something,
at
talking about, that's right. And it was talking about, and you can fill in the blanks here, but it was essentially talking about there's so much voices out there at the moment on socials, on podcasts, on video. And what we wanted to do more than just be a voice. Like we don't want to just be noise. Tell me about that conversation.
Yeah, we're just talking about how much content there is. And there's two ways people go. Either they're like, the world's oversaturated with content, so they don't even try. And then their value is not added to that conversation. But also then there's just people that add just content for the sake of adding content. And we don't want to be that. We don't have the purpose of the podcast, and the heart behind us doing it is not just to be just another piece of information that you can apply to your relationship, but we actually want to help challenge marriages or relationships. And
strengthen them.
Yeah. So we want to really see that be actual life change. It's hard to know how to do that when the world is just so online and so content heavy and everything's fast paced and moving, but we're trying to be a bit creative with how we can do that. So things will adjust a little bit this season. There'll be some new segments and some new elements that we're playing into that. It's getting your feedback on that process so that we're doing it in collaboration.
Yeah, there's a big word that we want to use with Chatters is collaboration. You know, I think you guys have so much value into this again, because I think like there's a few Chatters on here that really speak into this episode, either with feedback or stories or whatever else, and you're so invested, and we love that. And we're like, there's actually quite a portion on our Chatters that don't do that, and we're like, you got a story too. You've got things that have impacted your relationship or your communication, or you might be trying to prepare for your relationship, but you still have something to give. You still have something to share. And that's where the collaboration comes in, because, you know, Amy and I, we're the hosts of this podcast, but we don't have all the stories. We don't have all the advice. We try and get it and we try and share it because we're passionate about growing in relationship. And again, that's what we want to draw from.
And also a quick shout out.
Yeah.
I, at this conference, met one of you.
Yeah.
I did not realize
I heard about that.
I realized at the time. I'm so sorry, Michaela. It was lovely to meet you in person. And I've communicated with her after this, but it was really cool because I didn't realize we had any chatters nearby.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That was nice interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And meeting a chatter. So we've got some chatters that we know and that come on here to support us and stuff like that. And then there's chatters on here that we don't know. And like the fact that you get to meet someone is amazing and really encouraging. So I'm a little bit jelly.
Yeah.
Awesome. So like we said, this episode is going to come out with an email as well. We're going to send this email out with a survey because we want your input. We've noticed that not as many people talk on Patreon specifically itself, but they communicate with us through email or message or whatever else that you have details on. So we're going to go trial this through email. So we're going to try email and survey and respond to you through that. If there's another way that you think would be a good idea, let us know. We want to grow in this area a lot. So did you want to share one little thing that we're wanting to explore for the future?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a reality check type corner of every episode, which is going to include a really easy to implement challenge for you as a partner to do that day, that
Yeah.
night, whenever it pops back into your head after you've listened to the episode, something really quick and easy, low maintenance that you can implement right then and there when you remember, to challenge and strengthen your relationship, even if it's just a tiny little thing. So there'll be some creative ideas in that way, and then some other ideas that are a little bit more intentional. So us all agreeing to a series or a challenge and that sort of thing. We'll be doing a few of those different topics and different themes as we go. But also we want to have, as if you've heard our full episode, we talked to Bryce, who is the CEO of Uncover Me, and I'm frustrated because we cannot find our copy, and we both have seen it recently, but we've got no idea where it is.
We literally grabbed it. We're like, oh, let's put this here so we don't lose it. I have no idea where that is.
Anyway,
we literally just turned their house upside down. We looked through all of our cars and all of our cars.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we want to use that resource especially because a lot of Aussies won't be able to access it for the meantime anyway, even if they wanted to buy it. But because it's very well designed, as you would have heard us talking to him about on the episode, well designed to be good prompts for couples and good connection points and communication points. So we're going to be just playing around with some of those things that make the episode a little more applicable to each listener in the moment as well, and to us. So watch this space. It should be exciting, and we are really excited. I don't think any of you would fall into this category, but not being intentional in your relationship is a recipe for disaster, really, in the long run. All of you are supporting this podcast and engaged in this content, so I'm fairly sure that you are very intentional people, but we really want to be helping encourage and challenge people to kind of snap out of the numbness that you can get into in everyday life, and especially in relationships as they get longer term, and be intentional in that space. So yeah. That's what's coming, guys.
That's what's coming, and more. And then again, the and more is really, again, trying to draw from your feedback too. That's the and more, because again, we're very passionate about this space, and we want to be creating opportunities greater than the podcast for marriages to thrive. That's what we're doing. That's what we're passionate about. That's what we want to work towards. So surveys coming out with this episode, so please check your emails. So some of the questions, we're going to go through a couple of these in the survey to maybe help with when you're going through the survey. So you can do the survey at the same time as listening to this episode. So first question simply is, I'm not going to read through every question here, but first question is, what's one thing you've learned from this podcast that's actually impacted your relationship or communication? That's quite an obvious one. This is from season 1 or going into season 2. What's been something that stood out to you the most? Because again, it's going to help us see what's been impactful. Remember, one chatter reached out to me and talked about how impactful the stonewalling episode was. And for him, it's not a massive deal between him and his wife. They don't fight a lot. They don't have a lot of issues. But it's like, all right, if he had an issue, we want to be working on them. But no, it doesn't matter if they're big or small issues. And he was able to actually put a word to their issue, which was stonewalling each other and shutting down and not going to it, and it caused other issues. So that was great. That was great feedback, because now we want to actually dive deeper into those things and bring greater resources from it. So it's one thing to identify it, but now what? How can we work through it? And that's the sort of resources we want to be bringing to our chatters. Yeah.
We also really want to hear why you joined Patreon, what brought you here.
What expectations did you have?
Yeah, what expectations you had, and what do you have? As we've said, your feedback on what you'd like to be getting out of this next season.
Yeah. And something that I like to do with my team members and stuff, right? If you're in ideation stage of a new project or whatever else, it's called green lighting stage. We say that any possibility is a possibility. So for example, us doing an episode on the moon is a possibility, right? So anything goes. If you could actually write something down. So the question here of what would you, again, why did you join the episode? What did you hope to get out of this space? Think creative too. Don't just think of for us to submit questions. That's awesome. We want to know that, but also think big. What's a big thought you've had? What's a big idea that you've got? Because again, we want to bring some impactful stuff into the space. So think big. Another one that we actually had here is, what kind of Patreon exclusive content would you like to see? So we've already sort of said that, but something that we were sort of throwing around as an idea is maybe we could do, if there was interest there, what if we did online round table discussions or something or whatever else like we could do. That's something that we're open to as well. It wouldn't be overly regular or anything like that. We wouldn't, burn out that idea, but even with something that you guys would just be interested in for like a brainstorming time or something with us, that would be quite cool. Either in person or online. So if that's something you'd be interested in, write that down in the survey. We'd love to hear that, and we'll look into putting it into place.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question on here that I want to ask you as well.
Yeah, ask me. I actually got to think about this. I know the question you're going to ask because I had the same question for you.
We both thought it was.
Which was also a question that I got from a chatter as well.
Really?
Of why they came to the, like what they want out of the podcast in general.
All right. So the question then is.
So shout out to Tim for that question, by the way.
Yes. Thanks, Tim. What's something about the opposite gender that still confuses you or that you wish you understood better?
Yeah, your brain. So how you think, because you constantly think that you constantly are talking in your head, sometimes out loud, and but you're constantly talking in your head, and that is something. What I would like to understand more is how, again, I know roughly my role in that space is to listen when to do that, but I can tell when you're in your head, and then what do I do? Like, it's like I ask, like, how are you going? That's not the right question. It's like, are you sure you're okay? That's not the right question. So that's probably a big one. It's understanding, without it overwhelming me, how females' brains work better.
Do you know what's something I ask you all the time?
How are you?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
No, others. Sometimes when you're like in your head, I say, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
That would be a good question to ask. I reckon that would be a good neutral question.
That's actually really easy.
Yeah. What are you thinking about?
Huh.
Because how are you? I can understand how that would feel like it's not the right question, even though it is a good question.
It's a good question, but it's like, it's easy to say, I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like it's because even with my work, right, we don't say, how are you? We say, how are you with our 10, because that question is like, I'm good. And that gives you nothing.
Yeah. So I reckon that's a good one.
Yeah. Awesome. But maybe we can dive into that a little bit more though on an episode. How about likewise?
I think almost the same thing in reverse.
Really?
Because you just cannot think about anything.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how disconnected from, I don't know if this is gender specific or not, but like even so, for one, I can't understand what it would be like to just have calm in your brain or just have quiet in your brain and not be thinking, like to just literally just not be thinking, not in an offensive way. Just
no. I mean, I get it. I go there.
And then the other part of it is how disconnected you are from what people think of you, or like how your decisions and movements are so disconnected in many ways.
Is that a gender thing or a me thing?
I don't know. That's why I'm not sure. Right. But actually on a podcast today, I heard someone say something that was really helpful for me as a woman in business. She was talking about how women have so much pressure about how they turn up. Like even tonight, I've got no makeup on, but
same,
because it's the chatters, but you never have makeup on. That's the point. Is like the chatters, you guys, I trust and love. And I don't think you hate me for my face to not be makeup. But every other main episode, if it's going to go like on our platforms or whatever, I've got in the back of my head, like I have to be put together. And that takes like at the least 10 minutes, if not half an hour. So, but you don't have to have that. And there's no pressure around that. So anyway, that's just one part of it. But women have a lot of pressure about how they turn up in business as well as in life. And one thing she said was like a tagline she's now started repeating to herself is, would a man care about this thing? And if not, I'm just going to do it. Like,
would going to do it?
Yeah. So like, would a man be like, well, my hair is not done nicely, before he like makes a video that potentially is good for his business and good for marketing or whatever? No, probably not. So I'm just going to make the video instead of being stressed out. Or would a man care that he's not 10 pounds lighter than he is when he's going to create his content and reach out? No. So I'm going to do it. So it's like that kind of thing is mind boggling to me because of it, just how my brain works. But it's also something I'm fascinated by, this thing that men, generally speaking, tend to have, where they're a little bit more disconnected from, I guess, what people think of them, or those kinds of, it's a different type of what people think of them, I'm sure.
I genuinely like, and I completely understand, like I whacked a hat on before we came in here. I'm like, oh, I'll do.
Yeah.
I'm in my, like, this is like my walking shirt. You know, it's not a nice shirt or anything. And these pants I've had for 28,000 years. But I genuinely am like, I want to actually prioritize putting myself together because I want to. Like, I mean, there's a point where I'm like, I see what you feel like you need to do. And I'm like, but I respect that to a point as well. You know what I mean? There is this respect in that from my side as well. Like, cool. Like, you actually, I'm a slob right now. You know what I mean?
You're
like,
not a slob.
but I am. Like, these are my like exercise clothes. Like, I'm not. I need to trim my beard. I need to tidy it up a little bit. I haven't done any of that. And I'm like, I wish I took more pride in that too, though.
I love the pride element, and that's something I'm trying to work on for myself too. What I don't like is the external pressure element or the lack of value element. The value, and I've been finding this with like my personal TikToks that I've been trying to make. Because I'm trying to put a lot of effort in this year, and so I've been documenting that. But every time I go to talk about what I'm doing in that space, I'm like, oh, my makeup's not done. Yeah. And so I'm holding myself back from making content because, one, my makeup's not done. Two, it's too chaotic in the background with noise. Like, my house isn't perfect and clean and white and light and everything like that. Or my hair is like greasy, so it's just up in a bun. Like, and I'm holding myself back from sharing my genuine journey because I don't look good enough for content that someone would look at and be like, that's valuable. Like, they would swipe by. Well, not everybody, hopefully. Yeah. Anyway, it's just an interesting thing. Like, I 100% taking pride in myself is something I want to do. And my challenge for myself is removing that from what I feel like the world, what value the world puts on me.
No, that's good. And like, I relate to that a tiny bit, and like nowhere near as much as you, because again, I'll explain why. But when I'm going into a corporate meeting or something online, like, I've got to dress, or if I've got to go to a conference or something, I've got to dress nicely, and I hate it. It sucks. Again, how long it takes me to get ready compared to if you went to that same thing, it's twice as less time as you would take. Yeah. Like, a half the time.
Yeah. Twice as less time.
And you just, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, there's a deep dive.
But these are just an example of sorts of questions that were on the survey. So go check them out again, because again, like this, even now, you and I going through those questions, like, cool, that's given me an idea. We need to do an episode on that, you know, like, because we know that this is a global thing. Like, this isn't just unique to us.
Global phenomena.
There's another word I was going to use other than global, but
universal.
Yeah, there we go. That's a better one. It's in the universe. The universe struggles with it.
There we go. I was just gonna say, like we've just said, this is prompting for conversations. We'd love to hear your responses and also maybe use it as a conversation with your partner.
Yeah, and as well, so something just to keep in your mind, if writing it down is something that you struggle with, send in voice messages. Like, that's fine. If you can't fill out the whole survey or whatever, be like, hey, I've got this idea, I'm on the run, I can't write right now, but I can video record or audio record. Do that, send that through. We'll listen to it. We would love that. Any sort of feedback from you guys would be fantabulous. Again, the impact is greater than the podcast. Your story, it has power behind it because it's not unique to you. Others will relate to that. That's the stuff we want to get out there. It's not the Blair and Amy show. It's the Honey, We Need to Chat show, which is all about communication and relationship. So your experience, your communication struggles, your communication growth is going to have a bigger impact than just for yourself.
Amen.
Oh, yeah, preach. Great.
That was a confusing noise that came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I get to those moments where I'm just like, I don't know what to do here, so I'll spit it out.
All right.
Thanks guys. Bye.